Hey, this is Ben with Blue Ribbon Coalition. I've been seeing in a lot of the ATV groups, especially in Utah and Colorado and the areas where a lot of people travel to Moab. There is a BLM e-planning solicitation for comments for the Labyrinth Canyon Gemini Bridges travel management area. This is part of the travel management settlement, which means it was part of the travel management plans that are all getting redone because of a lawsuit by SUA. And so what that means is the BLM is redoing all of their travel management plans for about 13 different areas. We've been involved in pretty much every step of the process as we've been able to, and we will be involved in this one. I was in a conversation last night with someone in the UTV Utah group that they were wondering what we were going to be putting in our comment and if we could give some guidance on what things people should be considering when they make their comments. I've seen already hundreds of people have already said they've put in their comment. It wouldn't hurt to put in another one if you have more information. But these are some of the things that I think the off-road and outdoor recreation community need to be aware of when the BLM is doing these travel management plans based on what we've seen in the plans that have already gone further through the process. First of all, with this one, the one in Gemini Bridges and Labyrinth Canyon. So this is the area that's north of Moab, east of the Green River, west of the highway that goes down to Moab, and south of I-70. So it's kind of a big swath of land up in those areas north of Moab. There are a lot of great trails in that area. Very popular riding area for all kinds of everybody. This is your side-by-sides, Jeeps, dirt bikes, mountain bikes, RVs, and camping vehicles. Like, this is one of the top, probably one of the more popular recreation areas in the state of Utah and probably in the western United States. And so they're doing what's called the scoping period. This means they're just trying to gather feedback from the community. There isn't actual proposals yet to shut down trails. I've seen some comments on Facebook that insinuate that that's what's happening. And this is being done because of a lawsuit by SUA. We know that SUA probably would like to see a lot of trails in this area shut down. What we have seen in the past, for instance, with the San Rafael Desert, we started off with what was about 300, give or take, miles of trail that were open. Based on the lawsuit, the BLM went and analyzed the inventory of trails that were available and identified 11 to 1,200 and ended up opening up a total of almost 900. And so because of SUA's lawsuit, the amount of trails that were open actually increased from 300 to 900. It's not unreasonable for us to believe that they should have opened up more. If we had more people engaged on our side, we probably could have gotten more. But this is the part in the planning process where we need to find out if there are any trails missing from their inventory. And so there's a map that's part of the public comment period. And so if you've made a comment and you haven't even looked at the map, then you're doing this wrong. You need to look at the map. And especially if this is an area where you like to recreate a lot, you need to find out if there's any trails that are missing from that map. This is the time where we have to let the BLM know anything that's missing. And so if you look at this map and then you go look at satellite data or Onyx Off-Road or some of the other apps that are out there, you will find there are a lot of trails that exist on other apps and other mapping software that don't exist on what is currently the BLM's inventory. If this is an area that you've ridden a lot, we need you to go find those. That should be the bulk of your comment, is these are trails I've ridden. These are the trails that I'm not seeing on your map. These trails need to be added to the inventory. Those will be the comments that make the most difference at this point in the process. That being said, there are a few general principles and guidelines you can advocate for if this is an area you don't know as extensively, but maybe you plan to ride there in the future, or maybe you've ridden some of the more popular trails on the map, but you don't know what all the smaller ones are. You can still generally say, we support a planning effort that leaves as many trails open as possible. And we support the BLM. If other groups and other users identify trails that are missing from the inventory, we support the BLM adding those to the inventory. We do have people working on that, and so that's part of what we've been working on, is making sure there aren't important things that are missing. There is a sand dune area in this riding area. A lot of times sand dune areas are open for open OHV travel, which means you can kind of ride anywhere. You don't have to stay on certain trails. That's something that I think should be suggested anytime we have a good sand dune area. Another thing to point out is right across the river from this is the San Rafael Desert area. In the Emery County bill, they created a lot of wilderness, 600,000 acres. A lot of that was on the San Rafael swell and in the Labyrinth Canyon wilderness, which is just across the river from this. And so we've lost a lot of riding area in this area, and that should justify them keeping as much open as possible here, because there have been mitigation for wilderness just across the river. And so if you're looking at the travel management system as a whole, there are a lot of lands that are protected in this landscape. I mean, this does get down close to Dead Horse Point and canyon lands. So we do have a lot of areas that are very protected and where off-road access is restricted. And so this is one of the areas where we can ride. This is an area where we should be able to continue to ride, and they shouldn't create additional closures in this area, given how many adjacent areas already have restrictions and closures for off-road travel. The final thing I want to add, and this is something I noticed in other comments as they've come up, is it's common for us to understand and recognize that SUA doesn't like off-road recreation and travel. They want to end motorized access to public land in as many places as possible. I have noticed, though, in their most recent legal arguments against the plans that have already been adopted and decided by other offices that are different from this Moab one, that they've come out really aggressive against dispersed camping. And so that isn't just your typical side-by-side driver or Jeep club or whatever. This is Subaru Outbacks wanting to camp out under the stars out in the open BLM public land. This is people in RVs. This is everybody who likes to just go camp for free in a dispersed camping area. This is your Sprinter vans, your van life people. And so SUA wants to shut all that down too. And there are legal briefs that say as much. And so this is an area that I know is popular for that activity. And so don't just focus on the off-roading. Let the BLM know that you also like dispersed camping in this area, that they need to keep as much of the dispersed camping open as possible and possibly open more areas to it. This is an area that is an incredibly popular destination. A lot of times the campgrounds in Moab fill up. A lot of times the surrounding areas get full. There needs to be places where people can go camp when they come visit this area. And this is going to have to be one of those areas where people are allowed to camp, or it's just it'll just end up with a lot of people not being able to access public lands and have the recreation experience they expect to have when they come visit Moab. Anyway, so that is hopefully a little bit of guidance for people. This was asked for in some comments. We'd love for everybody to share this and make sure this is helping inform what people are writing. If you have any questions, feel free to, in the comment to this, we'll put the link to the comment where you can publicly comment to the BLM. We'll have a link to the maps. If you do find trails that are missing, we do ask you to please direct message us or reach out to us independently so that we can incorporate those into our comment as well. And I'd love to answer any questions people have if you want to reach out to us separately. Thanks.